Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is going on, guys? I'm back this episode. I know I missed last episode, but I'm here today. I'm with my boy Ed. And before we get started, I would love for you guys if you subscribe and follow us on podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all those platforms. Twitter, follow us, subscribe to us on YouTube. Also, I want to thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Now, Ed, I know you got into it yesterday, but I kind of want to get my takes in there a little bit about the game. So can you give me, before I start, I would like a little refresher on how you felt about it. So what was your takes?
So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it ended as the Sam Dekker revenge game. I know it was looking like the Isak Bonga revenge game at first, but it really was the Kyle Kuzma on Kuz control or Kuzmania. I thought this was his best game by far. I was happy. I mean, for you to get that bold prediction correct, that was hilarious. Because I was laughing. I was like, because Kuzma didn't play well at all in the first, or I wouldn't say didn't play well at all, but it was looking a little rough for him. He was out of control. Like we talked about the fast breaks where he was just fumbling all over himself, double dribbling. I was just like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But nah, you spoke it into existence, man. He came out there. He played well, 24 points, hit 6 threes. That's the Kuz that we want to see. And if he plays like that, then that's what we need to make a playoff push. When Rui comes back, if Kuz can hit shots like that and can create and get to the basket, and Rui's out there playing well as well, that's 2 long wings out there that can really be disruptive offensively and defensively. So I love what I saw from Kuz. Gafford with a double-double. I like the things what I saw, but the ending of the game definitely concerned me. Letting Sam Dekker go crazy like that, letting Flynn from the Raptors, I still don't know his first name, but Flynn did whatever he felt like doing towards the end of the game. So we got to clean up. 3-point defense is still a concern for sure. Scotty Barnes looked good. I thought Dinwiddie looked good. I thought a lot of the guys looked good. Harrell is Harrell. Harrell's been he's been great so far through this preseason. So there were some positives. And Bradley Beal was bad from the field. What was he, 1 for 11? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want to get your take because you weren't here yesterday, so definitely want to hear definitely what your prediction. If you guys are betting, definitely listen to D because he is a smart man.
All I gotta say is Kyle Kuzma. We all been waiting. I've been waiting. Like I said in a previous episode that we made, I had a bold prediction that Kyle Kuzma would score 15 points shooting over 50% from the field. And he did do that. He did more than that. Kyle Kuzma scored 24 points, shooting 8 for 12 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3. I was very impressed. He looked smooth. He looked comfortable. He wasn't passing up shots like Wes Unseld Jr. said after the Knicks game, I believe, that he felt like Kyle Kuzma was passing up looks, and he didn't want him to do that. Kyle Kuzma was stepping into his threes. He looked like he was a new man coming from those first 2 preseason games with the Wizards, and that's what Wizards fans wants to see from him. He caught a lot of slack at times coming from LA because he was a on and off type of guy. Sometimes he looked great, at other times you want the guy on the bench. And that's going to be one big thing for him, in my opinion, is just being consistent. He can't have a game like he had against the Raptors and then the next game go back to looking like how he did in the first 2 preseason games, because that's a quick way to get fans irritated and annoyed with, your play style. Because one thing fans love to see is consistency within a player. That's one thing we get from Bradley Beal. Even though today he struggled, but for the most part, he's giving you at least 20 plus points, at least 20. So for Kyle Kuzma, I'm so happy for him. I'm happy I was right on my prediction. Caldwell Pope, my guy, another former Laker, went off again too. He had, I believe, 5 for 8 from the 3, 5 for 8 from the field, and 15 points. That's what we want. Shooting. And for Bradley Beal to have the poor shooting day that he had and the Wizards pick up the slack offensively, I'm happy with that because it shows that Bradley Beal can have an off day and he doesn't need to drop 40, 50 points for the Wizards to stay in a basketball game like last year and possibly still come out with an L. It shows that the Wizards have actually improved on their depth with the team. So that's a beautiful thing to see. Daniel Gafford, my boy, with a
Yes,
big
sir.
double-double, 14 points, 17 rebounds. That's what we love to see. Grabbing those rebounds, just energy. Same with Montrezl Harrell. I talk about him every time they play a game. Montrezl Harrell, Daniel Gafford. I mean, I love what I'm seeing from my two bigs, man. Coming off the bench from Montrez and starting with Daniel Gafford. I love what I'm seeing from DG and Montrez. So I will continue to shout them out. Spencer Dinwiddie, he looked good. 10 points, 3 for 9 from the field. Him and Daniel Gafford in the pick and roll, of course, they look nice. It looked good. And to finish it off, the Wizards, I spoke about keeping them at least below 45%. They held the Raptors to 42% from the three. So, I mean, yes, in the fourth quarter, etc. The issue is they let the Raptors hang around, and the Raptors were missing a lot of key guys. So you can say that's an issue. But I will say, as far as individual players, I'm happy to see what I've seen from guys like Kyle Kuzma, etc. But before we get to our next segment, I would like to speak about Sweat Block. If you were watching the end of that Wizards Raptors game, you probably were a little sweaty. You wanted the Wizards to come out. It's still warm out in DC. Sweat Block is doctor created, doctor recommended, works up for 7 days per use, dry shirt guarantee. If Sweat Block doesn't keep you dry, you get your money back. Featured and tested on the Rachel Ray Show by firefighters, and it's a bestseller on Amazon for the past 10 years with over 13K reviews. And it is also currently #1 in Amazon antiperspirant category and manufactured in the United States of America. And you can get Sweatblock today for 20% off at sweatblock.com with promo code Locked On, and also buy it at Amazon and CVS. And once again, guys, I want to thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. So, Ed, after the game, Kyle Kuzma made some interesting comments, I would say. He said, "Don't expect it game one. We're making strides, but we're a long ways away still." And not a lot of times do you hear that honesty coming from a player, you know, at all on certain teams. So how do you feel about those comments post game?
He was honest, and it is going to take time. We got a lot of new guys. We got the 3 new Lakers guys, Aaron Holiday, drafted Kispert. We got a lot of new pieces, and it is going to take time. The unfortunate part is I think this year is really the year where you have to come out the gate swinging, where we've had a lot of slow starts. I want to say we started 2-8, or we were 0-5 last year. You know, Russ was hurt, and we lost 5 games in a row. And even some of the years with John Wall, where we had Nene and Gortat, you know, we started off bad, and then we would go on a tear, and we ended up with 49 wins, that our best season with John Wall. So historically, the Wizards, we just have had slow starts, but I think this year specifically, we have to jump off to a good start because the trade deadline is so important for Bradley Beal. Does he want to stay? Does he want to leave? Because if we're bad, if we're below 5 games going into the trade deadline, it's not going to be good. I just feel like Bradley Beal, he might want out, or we might have to think about rebuilding and trading guys and letting guys go. But it is important. It's very important to have a fast start. But I think Kuzma is he's being very honest. Getting that chemistry is going to take time. And we have a first-year head coach. You got to take that into account too. So so I think he's going to be an upgrade from what we had, of course. But there's still going to be a learning curve with Wes. So everybody's learning each other, getting used to each other. And we're going to have Thomas Bryant coming back too. So many forwards. So it's just a lot of guys to get chemistry with. So I liked his answer. It was an honest answer. And it's going to take time. So it's not going to be perfect coming out. But I do think this team definitely is a playoff or a playing team. So it will be interesting to see how things shake out. And it took Kuzma basically 3 games to get comfortable in the preseason. And so if we come out to a hot start, that would be great. But I am prepared for kind of like a medium start where we're like maybe 5-5 coming out the game. 5-5. I wouldn't be mad at that as long as we're not below 500 by like 5 games. So it's going to take time for them to learn each other and learn from each other.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think coming from where Kyle Kuzma came from, despite all the memes and all the critique and scrutiny of his play with the Lakers, he still is an NBA champion. He still won an NBA Finals with the Lakers. He still was on a team with LeBron James. So he's been around it. He's been around a winning culture. He's been around one of, if not the best player in NBA history. And he knows, he's seen him in the gym. He's seen him lead the team. So Kyle Kuzma definitely coming from, winning the finals with the Los Angeles Lakers to the Washington Wizards, I'm sure he sees things on the court within his own play as well, and in the locker room, etc., where when you comparing it to where you came from with LeBron, etc., it's probably a nice little drop off there. So I definitely understand. I respect the honesty. And like you said, you got a first-year head coach, Rui Hachimura, just came back, probably won't be starting to start the season. You have defensive issues which we seen in games like against the Raptors. You have Pascal Siakam not playing. Van Vliet was not playing. OG Anunoby was not playing. And the Wizards, they pulled away at times and went on little runs, but they let the Raptors continue to stay in the game, and that led to their eventual downfall in the end, which they lost. So, and I'm sure Kyle Kuzma has taken note of all that. And it's an honest assessment. I think it's a correct assessment, and I agree with him. So, Kyle Kuzma, I respect the honesty. I think a lot more players, don't like to be that bluntly honest about their team, but it's realistic, and I think it gives the fan base a realistic view from a player on the inside looking out. So, before we get into our next topic, I know, Ed, you have a message from our sponsors, Bet Online. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so the Eagles play against the Bucks tomorrow night, and it's gonna be a big time game. So you guys put your bets in. The Eagles are 7-point dogs. I got to look at the over under for that. But I personally, I think it's going to be a high scoring game. So I would take the over on that. I think it's going to be in the 30s. Washington football team, I mean, we're playing the Chiefs. The spread on that is 7 as well. So we both got some tough games. So you guys can definitely put your bets in on Bet Online. Get all the latest news, odds, and info for all your sporting needs, including NFL, NBA, and all your UFC action. Before the next pitch, head over to Bet Online on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game as teams prep for their runs to the playoffs. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. The promo code is Locked On. Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. You guys can find us on all podcasts and platforms.
Yes, you sure can. And Ed, before we got started, you were calculating some stats. You were calculating some field goal percentages from some guys. I want to get into who has impressed and who has not impressed you in the first 3 games.
So who has impressed me? I think for me to start off would be Montrezl Harrell. I think he's a guy that brings something different to the table. We haven't had a bad guy on the team. When I mean bad guy, kind of like an enforcer. Somebody, Markieff Morris was probably that last guy who was mean, didn't mind getting an attack, getting physical with somebody, getting up in somebody's face. Just that different dynamic of intensity. I keep saying junkyard dog every day. I'm going to beat that to death. But that's just what Harrell is. We need some mean guys, some aggressive guys that are going to be physical and willing to push guys around in the paint. And that's what he does. Former 6th man of the year. I looked up his numbers. He averaged, through three preseason games, Montrezl Harrell has averaged 14 and 7, which is on pace. He's not playing 30 minutes like he did that 6th man of the year season, but he's averaged around like 20, 25 minutes per game. Him and Gafford split minutes. And he's going to be huge for us this season because I love Daniel Gafford. I definitely think he should start, of course. But foul trouble has been his Achilles heel, and stamina has been his Achilles heel. And if I think he is going to improve on that, he did show improvements on fouling, and he did show improvements on stamina. Gafford played 27 minutes last night, which is pretty high for him, and he had a career high in rebounds with 17 rebounds. So that's huge for Gafford playing 27 minutes. Because Scotty Brooks would cut him off really at like 20 minutes, really 15 to 20 minutes. He would cut off Gafford last year. But Montrezl Harrell impressed me. I mean, he had a double-double, 18 and 10. Last night he had 17 and 2. First game against the Rockets, he had 9 and 11. So he's played his butt off, man. And he takes charges too. He's willing to put his body on the line and take charges. He is undersized, and other bigs are able to shoot over him. That's like the downfall about his game. But he's not able to really stretch the floor. But other than that, he brings toughness to this team, man. And I love the energy. I think DC fans are gonna love what they're gonna get from Montrezl Harrell. He's gonna be a guy that can get the crowd involved, just like how Thomas Bryant gets the crowd involved, get guys hyped. I think Montrezl Harrell is gonna be able to bring that same energy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, number one, I gotta go with Montrezl Harrell. I feel like he's been the most consistent player on the team throughout the preseason. He's brought the same energy. He's brought the same toughness every single game. He is one of the vocal leaders on the team, and he's showing that with his play on the court as well, with that toughness and that energy off of the bench. Daniel Gafford, I'm not surprised that he's on my impressed list. Like the game he had today, the big double-double, 14 points, 17 rebounds. That's huge for him. Keeping the fouls down as well. Making sure, and I will always harp on that, keeping the fouls down. Make sure we do that. We get more of these 14 and 17 games. That's beautiful. The pick and roll chemistry with him and Spencer Dinwiddie looks amazing. The blocks are amazing. The energy is amazing. To go from Daniel Gafford starting and having that athleticism and that energy to Montrezl Harrell, to that athleticism and that energy, is no drop off there. Last season you had Daniel Gafford, and then you would go to Alex Len or Robin Lopez. Those are just two completely different styles, so it's great to have another guy who can just bounce off of energy. There's no energy drop off there. There's no athleticism drop off there. There's two athletic guys, two high energy guys who love to rim run, guys who love to run the pick and roll, guys who love to block shots and get rebounds. I love it. And my third guy for impressed, I got to go with Spencer Dinwiddie. He hasn't had a crazy high-scoring game or anything like that, but I think he's shown us in the half court, great work by him. Pick and roll with Daniel Gafford has been great by him. Facilitating has been great by him. He's shown that he can get his own shot as well. I love the pickup. And it's crazy going from a guy like Russell Westbrook to Spencer Dinwiddie because the play styles are just different. They're completely different. But I think the team has been doing very well with adjusting to Spencer's play style in Wes Unseld Jr.'s system. The ball doesn't stick as much anymore. We've seen, for example, in the second quarter with Denny Avdia, who I didn't bring up earlier when I was reading off stats, it's kind of started with him where they swung the ball and it led to an open Kyle Kuzma 3. I mean, and it kind of floated on Twitter a little bit. So Spencer Dinwiddie, Montrezl Harrell, Daniel Gafford, guys I'm very impressed with. If I had to say somebody who I wasn't impressed with, if Kuzma didn't have if he didn't have the game he had, it would have been Kuzma, but he kind of saved himself with that game that he had. But
to jump into your Dinwiddie point too, I love what I saw, and I'm really mad at myself I didn't bring up ball movement earlier because that's something that we lacked last year. We were ranked 27th or 29th in passes per game. It's because some of it was on Scotty. I'm bringing up Scotty so much this episode, but some of it was on Scotty, and some of it was just the play style of Russell Westbrook. So we have different personnel, like you're saying with Spencer. Spencer's going to be a guy that's going to move the ball. He's not going to dominate the ball like we had last year. And some of the offenses that Scotty ran was just isolation heavy, and that's what West is trying to change: more ball movement, get guys more involved. Like you were saying, Denny did a post up. We didn't see a lot of that last year, so that's very different. Seeing him do that post up on Dragic, kicking the ball out to KCP for a wide open 3. He can do the same thing to Kuz, who can shoot threes. The same thing to Bill. who can shoot threes. Rui's improving from the three. Bertans if he's in Kispert. So that was interesting. But like you're saying, Gafford averaged 10 points and 8 boards. I didn't calculate his blocks, but he only had 2 fouls in the game against the Raptors, and I want to say only 1 foul in the game against the Knicks. So he did a lot better with that and minutes as well. But Dinwiddie, like you said before, he averaged 12 points and 5 assists per game. And he shot 40% from the 3-point line. And a lot of people were concerned about his 3-point shooting coming in because he shot 31% from the 3 in the year with the Nets where he averaged 20 and 7. But it's a small sample size, so he shot 4 for 10 in 3 games. But that's a good start, 40% from the 3, and he took some good shots. And he took some tough threes too. I like what I saw from Dinwiddie.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you're the guy with the stats, man. You do a great job with that.
Yeah, I had to calculate it because they didn't put up. This is the preseason, so I had to just calculate. It's the only 3 games, but I just took the time out and calculated.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Our next topic that I do want to get into, though, were there any lineups in the game that interested you at all?
I did like the starting lineup. And then we got to get. I'll talk about who didn't impress me either.
Oh, but, I'm sorry. Go ahead and get into that first. Go ahead. Didn't impress you first before we get to the lineups. I'm sorry.
We're not gonna let these guys off the hook. Some guys didn't play well. Studs and duds. I would somewhat add KCP. I liked what Aaron Holiday did the first game, and then his playing time tailed off. So I'm not going to add him to who impressed me, but he certainly impressed me in the first game, and then he didn't play as well in the game against the Raptors. But Corey Kispert is on my list of guys who didn't impress me. Now, he did have a good first game where he started, and I know this is a debatable thing right here. He's a rookie, so there's going to be a lot of learning from him. Honestly, I do see him playing in the G League, but I can see it going either way. I think he might be the odd man out. Because I think what they're going to end up doing is having Bertans play over Kispert. I don't know. Yeah, I think they're going to have Bertans play over Kispert right now. Just looking at the rotations, it could go either way because Kispert's able to do more. He can put the ball on the floor, and he's just more mobile. Than he's way more of a playmaker than Davis Bertans. But through 3 games, Kispert shot 14% from the 3-point line, and he shot 31% from the field, which is really underwhelming. The game against the Knicks, he was 0 for 3 from the 3-point line. He was 0 for 5 from the 3-point line against the Raptors. He was 2 for 6 from the Rockets from the 3-point line. So he struggled. Overall, he was 7 for 22 from the field, which is 31%. A lot of his threes were flat, and you can see that in the Summer League too. A lot of his misses were flat. And I said last night, I don't know if he's getting used to the NBA 3, but when you watch his college tape, he was knocking down threes from like the parking lot too. So I don't think that's going to be a problem for him in the NBA. I think, and it takes time for shooters to develop. Kyle Korver, he didn't come out firing on all cylinders. Doug McDermott, it took him some time to develop. Doug McDermott's played on like 3 or 4 teams already now, so he's bounced around the league. JJ Redick, it took him some time. So just comparing him to other guys who are shooting specialists. It's normal for guys to take some time. I saw some people on social media overreacting to Corey Kispert, going on the pick. But I personally, I like the pick at 15. I know there's some other guys that could have went at 15, but I still like the pick. It's 3 preseason games. Like I said, 14% from the 3-point line is not good at all, and 31% from the field is not good. But I still believe in Corey Kispert. Is there anybody else that didn't impress you?
I pretty much agree with your list. Bertans, Kispert, I would say those will be my main 2 guys that I would say. You went into the reasoning already.
Yeah.
But Kispert, Bertans, I probably would say on my top 2 for not impressed.
Yeah. And I wrote down Bertans' shooting percentages. So the first game, he was 1 for 6 from the 3 against the Rockets. Second game, he was 1 for 6 again from the 3-point line against the Knicks, and then he was 3 for 7 against the Raptors. So he was 5 for 19 from the 3-point line. He shot 26% from the 3, and we're expecting him to shoot 40%. He shot 40% his first year he was here. Then he shot 39% the second year he was here. So 26% is a small sample size through 3 games, but that's really bad. Then he shot 28% from the field, 6 for 21 from the field overall. So pretty poor performance from Bertans. He did have a nice alley-oop to Montrezl Harrell. That was probably the best play that he had all preseason, being somewhat of a playmaker. But he definitely was a dud so far through these 3 games. And I'm a Bertans supporter. I'm not one of the people pulling out the pitchforks for Bertans, because I know his trade value is basically 0. So I'm not, I think he can be valuable if he is hitting shots.
Yeah, definitely. And now let's get into the lineups. Is there any lineups that interested you during the game?
I liked. It was an interesting lineup with Montrez. I saw a lineup with Montrez. It was Montrez, Denny, Kispert, Bradley, Beal, and Bertans, and they all just spaced the floor out. And that's when Montrezl Harrell got the ball at the high post at the free throw line, and he just swept through and went to the basket, got an and one. That was very interesting because you can just space the floor out and let Trez go to work, because there's going to be games where Trez is coming off the bench. And he's going to work on that big, and he can put the ball on the floor and go past a guy who's 7 feet. He's 6'7", so he's already going to have that leverage against the big man and just drive past them and score easily. So I like that lineup. Of course, the starting lineup, Gafford was in there with Dinwiddie and Kuz and Neto and Bertans. That was an interesting lineup as well. And the starting lineup is cool right now. I just can't wait to see how when Rui comes back, the lineup that had the ball movement that we keep talking about, where Kuz hit the 3, where they just kept moving the ball. It was Raul Neto, Kyle Kuzma, Daniel Gafford, Denny, and Bradley Beal. So that was the 5 where Kuzma had that nice wide open 3 where they just kept moving the ball around the perimeter. So that was a lineup that I want to see more. Of course, you got Gafford being that rim protector, and then everybody else can shoot, and then Denny's your playmaker, and Denny was playing point guard with that lineup too. So that was intriguing, just seeing Denny have that point guard role.
Yeah, and my lineup was going to be focusing on that Denny point guard role too. I believe the lineup was Denny, KCP, Kispert, Bradley Beal, and Gafford. And in that role, you don't have a true point guard there. So Denny, like Wes said, is getting him more into that secondary playmaking role, which is what we all want, which is what he was comfortable doing coming out of Israel. I believe Denny just having the opportunity, as we've seen, him getting a nice snap pass to KCP for a 3 out of the post, him working out of the post, finding guys, getting pick and roll opportunities. It's a beautiful thing for me to see. It's a beautiful thing for his growth in his second year, because you're unlocking that potential, that next step in his game outside of being a catch and shoot guy when he wasn't even known coming out of Israel as a shooter. You're letting him make plays. You're letting him get involved. And those are all things that I love to see. When you're, especially in a preseason, you're trying to get your second year guy ready for secondary playmaking role, expanding his role coming into his second year. So I love that lineup personally.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Denny, like you hit all the nails on the head. Denny's development is so important. Him being the 9th pick of the draft, it's going to be huge. And that's why Wes Unseld got hired, because he said, his interview, he said he's going to have different ways to deploy Denny. He's going to have different ways to develop Rui, different ways to get Brad off ball, dribble handoffs, just get Brad moving around. You could see it through the 3 games. They're trying to get Brad in different spots instead of Brad just being an isolation guy. I saw Brad get some open shots, but he just wasn't able to hit last night. But he definitely had some good games. He had a good game against the Knicks, and I thought he had a good game against the Rockets as well. So I'm really interested to see Wes Unseld Jr.'s way of using Denny. We do want to see Denny improve with the free throw shooting and dribbling with his left hand and just shooting the 3. He did hit a step back 3, so that was cool to see from Denny.
Yes, it definitely was. And guys, we're going to wrap it up here just to hit on some minor roster moves from the Wizards. They waived Jay Huff and Jordan Shaquille. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name. I apologize for that. But guys, once again, I want to thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Next episode, we will probably be going over a preview of the last Wizards preseason game, the Knicks. Once again, the Wizards will be playing. And now I would love for you guys to make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Basketball with Josh Lloyd. He hosts the #1 daily fantasy basketball show on the planet. It's free and available on all platforms. So, guys, once again, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, Locked On Wizards. We will see you guys next time.
Hell to the Wizards. Peace.